Something has been nagging at us in the back of our minds as we explore the settled systems. It's as if someone is breathing on the back of our necks no matter where we go. We touch its shadow no matter where we are, whether we're exploring an abandoned facility on a moon or taking a jaunt in a human settlement. This mysterious entity we are referring to is, of course, chunks. In this video, we'll be doing a quick lore examination of chunks as a product, but also food corporation, while also speculating on hints and the lack of information regarding chunks, and what exactly it's made of, and why it's presented in Starfield the way it is. If you like lore videos about Starfield, definitely subscribe to the channel, and make sure to check out the lore on the Terramorphs and the sinister drug Aurora. If you ever need a resource for all things Starfield, make sure to visit starfieldwiki.net, run by the team behind UESP. Apart from the cuisine offered in restaurants or storefronts across the settled systems, which will look absolutely delicious, these tightly sealed packages of square-shaped chunks of food can be found on tables, chairs, crates, ships, bases, streets, bars, resort planets, and basically anywhere else you can think of. A lot more people love chunks than people who don't. Even Barrett from Constellation remarks one of his daydreams is a chunks buffet, which is certainly saying something.
You're amazing. Like chocolate-covered prasada berries on an all-you-can-eat spicy chunks buffet.
These chunks look innocent enough and don't really give us any negative side effects when we consume them. But as we venture through the Starfield, we just can't help but wonder exactly what the ingredients of chunks are. Whenever we approach any chunks employee or manager to ask about what goes into chunks, we get responses such as the following.
Chunks are the highest quality ingredients sourced from all over the settled systems, and I forget the rest. Ugh. All I am legally allowed to say is that our chunks meet all known minimum standards for nutrition. I just serve the chunks. I don't make them. Ugh. Honestly, you're probably better off not thinking about it.
It's a little strange how even employees don't really know what's going on with the products they're selling, but it starts making sense once we eventually learn that there is a handbook created by Chunks founder Fred Blambart, made for Chunks employees that state the following. Soon after founding his breakout business Chunks, founder Fred Blambart personally wrote the 3-page employee handbook. The following is an excerpt from page 2. It's like that saying, the customer is always right. Here at Chunks, if we know anything, it's that the expression, the customer is always right, is always wrong. In this case, it's actually scientifically impossible for the customer to be right. They have no working knowledge of our state-of-the-art culinary facilities. And if they had the secret recipes to all our delicious Chunks flavors, then we'd all be out of a job, me included. So we now know Chunks has their own tightly guarded recipe secrets the company keeps hidden, even from their workers, which drives our curiosity even more. It's interesting to note that we can also procure a 120-page autobiography titled My Life, Chunk by the same founder, Fred Blambart, where he writes, I was very young, only 7 years old, when I realized humans are animals. Smart animals, sure, but still, animals. You give us food, we'll eat it. We want it to taste good, and we want it to stop our hunger. Those two things, that's what's most important. After that, sure, some people want their food to be really healthy, as the experts say, and some want it to be pretty, but most people, they just want to cram something into their face, and that's when the concept of Chunks was born. So begins the 120-page autobiography of Fred Blambart, founder of the Chunks food franchise. Based on what the Chunks founder wrote, we know that he has a rather jaded and straightforward personality, even when it comes to the food service industry. The success of Chunks throughout the settled systems proves his words and philosophy right, that most human beings only really care about taste and staving off of hunger and starvation. And if we explore enough of the settled systems, including Neon, Paradiso, and Hopetown, we learn that Chunks storefronts can come in a variety of sizes and atmospheres. The Chunks in Paradiso is actually a luxury version where they offer basically the same chunks, except Cabernet Chunkignon is there. And if we go to chunks in Neon, well, it's definitely more post-apocalyptic vibes for sure compared to any other chunks.
Choose your chunks. Feed your face to feed your body with chunks. Chunks, chunks, chunks. Come in today and choose your chunks.
Curiously enough, there is some graffiti in Neon where they say don't eat chunks, as if to warn us spacefarers about the dangers of chunks. We also know from a Settled Systems News Network broadcast that chunks does offer holiday flavors during the Earth month of December, much like how Starbucks in our reality offers pumpkin spice once October hits. These holiday flavored chunks are apparently so popular that chunks lovers have demanded the company to be produced all the time. However, according to a representative from Chunks, the secret ingredients for holiday chunks can only be produced in limited quantity, which only makes us even more curious. Once we encountered Chunks franchise owner Luthor in New Homestead on the Moon Titan in the Sol system, we discovered that Chunks also offers a special sauce. We also find out that all the Chunks employees do is simply refrigerate the chunks and take them out to heat them for customers after receiving the shipments.
I can't wait until it's time to eat. I'm gonna use our discount to get a bunch of different chunks and mix them all up. Try some new flavor profiles, as they say in biz.
What biz? What are you talking about?
You know, the foodie biz. Chefs and all that. It's a thing we do.
We get cases of refrigerated chunks and we just heat them up. We don't, like, make anything. You are really into chunks, huh?
What that special red sauce advertised exactly is, again, unknown, but it's heavily implied that the special sauce is created by Chunks at entirely different facilities, separate from where the chunks are actually made or packaged. And the packaging on the special sauce for the chunks reads, "Welcome to the wide universe of Chunks, the Settled Systems only fast food chain. We specialize in enhanced synthetic flavor with over 50 tasty varieties, including favorites like chicken, chocolate, potato, apple, and homemade pumpkin pie. Better than the real thing. That's the Chunks guarantee." And on one of the special sauce can labels, it reads, "Not a significant source of vitamin D, calcium, iron, and potassium." And unlike in some advertisements, we can see the sauce isn't red but more of a creamy color on this packaging. It seems we keep running into dead ends at this point. We can't find the Chunks manufacturing facilities, we can't interrogate even the franchise owners for information, most likely because they don't even know what that information is, and we can't even find a Chunks corporate headquarters in Neon, where literally almost every major company is headquartered in. Perhaps the biggest hint as to how chunks are made, or what they're made of, comes from an unlikely source, the United Colonies Vanguard questline. When we first go to Tau Ceti 2, we are investigating the disturbance behind a food processing facility called Tau Gourmet. And as we explore the area, we come to learn that this was a site of 5 aspiring entrepreneurs who wanted to tackle on the so-called freeze-dried age, stating that the Tau Gourmet is going to change that, and they want to make fresh food cheap and available everywhere to the point clients won't ever go back to using freeze-dried food again. Tau Gourmet probably is referring to chunks in part, as a lot of the appearances for chunks definitely looks freeze-dried, which is sort of confirmed by the info we find on chunks when examining them. The tooltips for each chunks notes that a X-flavored chunks food cube, packaged for freshness. On the back of the packaging it reads, "Heat carefully, do not expose to radiation. Ready to eat? No refrigeration needed, no preparation required. Cooking instructions: 1. Enjoy on its own. Or 2. Heat in oven, 5 minutes. The net weight per chunk is 400 grams, and the energy given back by each chunk is 200 kcal with a salt equivalent of 2.25 grams. Lastly, I suppose we need to discuss why chunks are chunks. If we look at examples of real astronaut food from our reality, packaged foods can be square and vacuum sealed. Other foods can come in tubes and in specially designed packaging that prevents the food from creating a mess in zero-gravity environments or on the space vessels the astronauts travel in or reside in, such as the International Space Station. I suspect that chunks don't want their food in tubes and opted for a uniform packaging option with the square wrappers and shapes to cut down costs. And in terms of storage space for the stores or consumers, it is mathematically and physically easier to store and stack square objects or containers than it is to store circular or misshapen objects or containers. I was seriously expecting that Chunks may have a deep dark secret, like maybe the special sauce is created from humans, or something disgusting like that cockroach scene from the film Snowpiercer, but for the time being, at least in our current playthrough of Starfield, no such grisly secrets lie beneath Chunks. Indeed, it may just be that artificial and synthetic flavoring is king in humanity's future among the stars, as opposed to organic ingredients being pureed and packed. However, I still can't shake the feeling of Chunks being something more. I'm not sure why. If any other spacefarer out there finds more Chunks clues, I would love to read or hear about it. Let me know down in the comments below what you find or think about Chunks. Thank you so much for watching, and see you all out there in the Starfield.
Welcome to Chunks. Please choose your chunks.